Brenda Mallory is a mixed media artist using found objects, textiles, and beeswax to create contemporary works of art. We'll explore how she tackles themes of disruption and adaptation as she sculpts new pieces of art.
There you go. I've always had creative outlets of all sorts. I've taken drawing classes, I'm a big gardener, I've done lots of sewing of clothes and fun costumes and curtains, all that. I've always been a maker. But at a certain point, I had this unfulfilled, what am I doing? I really need to do this art thing. Because I'd just been dabbling. I'd been a dabbler all my life, and I really decided finally I needed to get serious about it, or I was going to be regretful. I'm Brenda Mallory. I'm an artist. I live in Portland, Oregon. I came into my art practice a little bit later than most people. I went back to art school when I was in my 40s. In 2015, I was the recipient of this Glean Artist in Residency, and it's a program that's a partnership between Metro, which is a governing body here in Portland, and Recology, who is our waste management company, and Cracked Pots. So they band together to make this program in which 5 artists get to go and be at the waste transfer station for 5 months and collect anything they want, and then we have a show at the end of it. So I found some materials there that still to this day I use. It's 5 or 7 years later, and I'm still using some of these materials. They really affected my practice in an ongoing way. And I've always worked with reclaimed materials, but mostly it's this cloth that I've worked with. I think the fire hoses appealed to me initially just because they're fibers, and I've worked for years with some sort of fiber or fabric. As I said, growing up sewing, it was just a skill I know and was comfortable with. So that was a quick appeal. And then the honeycomb cardboard that I work with, that actually attracted my eye because it looked a lot like these prints I had already been making, where there were these vertical lines interrupted by a horizontal line. So to mix it up with all kinds of different things like fire hoses and honeycomb cardboard, it's just really fun to see where I can go with that. The honeycomb cardboard probably also appealed to me because for years I've been working with hexagonal shapes, and I think I've been attracted to the hexagonal shape because when I was a kid growing up, my grandpa kept bees. Some of these pieces I'm very much thinking about time, and it was me making this piece that really addressed my grandfather, the beekeeper. Sometimes people ask me, is my work native? And I always say, well, yes, I'm a native person and I made this work, so this must be native work. And then there will be questions like, well, it's not overtly about something, I can't quite identify it as Cherokee art. But if you know me and you know my story, and the deeper story sometimes I like to say is, I work with this concept of making do. That's important to me because as Cherokees, that's what we had to do. But on this bigger picture and how I think it represents me as a Cherokee artist, our people were uprooted from where they had lived for so many years, and they knew the plants, the medicines, the animals, and then shipped off to Oklahoma or forced to march there where everything's new. But what happened? We didn't just shrivel up and go away. We're a thriving community. Kind of that making do with what you have. I'm a contemporary artist, so the work I make is very much about the time we live in now, materials-wise. It may reference issues from historical stories or points that I'm interested in, But I consider myself a contemporary artist working a lot in abstraction. It's a field I pursue because I feel like it's important to make your brain work a little bit. I've worked in several themes over the course of my career. One that is recurrent is this idea of systems that get disrupted in some way. And while that often can destroy a system, more often systems adapt and go on to be another thing or look in a different way. As time has gone on, I realized that in some ways it's more of a universal, like that can apply to people, to families, to cultures in general. And some of the ways I manifest that is this making of pieces that are mini pieces. Sometimes they're something that I have created and then deliberately cut apart or torn apart so that I can put it back together again and make the repairs, the fixes, the connections be very obvious. So this red piece that is here is made out of waxed cloth, again, that's pigmented, and all of it's sewn together with these little things called hog rings. Sometimes I have a very clear idea of what I'm going to make, and sometimes it's a loose idea and I just start working and see where it goes. The idea that everything you make is a success, that is so not true. There are so many failures I have in this studio and so many things I try. It's almost like I have to let these materials dictate or tell me a little bit about what they want to do and inform the process a little bit. Which is fine, I'm very down with that. I do think the materials have a say in what we do, and honestly, I welcome that say. Right now, I'm gearing up for 2 shows. I'll be having a solo show at the Heard Museum in Phoenix, and then I have another show that opens here in Portland at Russo Lee, which is the gallery that represents me here in Portland. Having an exhibition, a solo exhibition, is kind of a big deal. There's all the label text to get done, the statements to write. It's a lot going on. And, making sure I've got everything photographed before it heads out the door. And, I think because I went to school as an adult, I already had a big work ethic because I ran a business and had a family, so I knew how to be productive. Becoming an artist at 40, you got to hit the ground running because you've got a limited time to make art. So I really did. I've just been kind of kicking it ever since. I'm prolific and I work a lot. So I've been lucky to have shows and get grants and awards, and I never take any of that for granted. I have this huge family here now, and it's just great. I really love it. Well, thanks everybody for coming to dinner. Thanks for having us. Yeah. Fun. Cheers. Cheers to a nice fall evening dinner. Cheers. Cheers.